shook the ARMY world. A short sentence from Taehyung that used to sound ordinary is now the center of suspicion. Is this proof that something is wrong between Taehyung and Jungkook? Why did HYBE finally open her voice after being silent for so long? And is it true that Taehyung deliberately creates distance? Do you remember that interview? A session that at first seemed light and full of laughter, but has now turned into heart-rending pieces of a puzzle. The snippet of the video came back into circulation, not because of the warmth of the memories, but because of one sentence that came out of Taehyung's mouth, a sentence that had never really been noticed before. And when the ARMY realized it, the mood changed dramatically. The fandom world is split. Some cried, some were angry, and the rest could only remain silent in confusion. Had Taehyung been keeping something that no one wanted to know about? The video is almost 2 years old. But in a matter of seconds, it was as if an old wound had opened up again. Taehyung stared at Jungkook, then with a smile that now felt forced, he said, "Sometimes, making room is the best way to stay afloat." When it first aired, no one felt it was weird. But today, thousands of fans claim they finally got it. But understand what? Is that a subtle innuendo? Is it a veiled admission that something has changed? One thing is certain. Words are not just speech. Those words are clues. And the more the ARMY searched, the more they felt that what they had been seeing was not the whole reality. Something is hidden. And now, as the video exploded on the internet, HYBE, who had previously chosen silence, suddenly issued a statement. But their statements just make things more complicated. Before we get into what HYBE said, let's pull back to the time where all this started. At that time, Taehyung and Jungkook were sitting side by side on an online talk show BTS Festa. The two were close, as usual. But now that the video has been replayed in a different context, the little details start to seem odd. Like the way Taehyung looked down after saying that sentence. Or how Jungkook smiles without looking at V, gestures, disappearing eye contact, pauses and laughter. Everything now feels too structured to be called a coincidence. I ask this just an overanalysis of an overly sensitive fandom. Is there anything worth suspecting? The reaction of the ARMY broke out. Some stated that they had long felt an emotional distance between the two, although it was always covered by warm stage moments. Taehyung is not only SHIP's name, but a symbol of the togetherness of two friends who grew up together in a cruel world. But is it true that togetherness is still intact? Or has it been cracked for a long time and only kept for the sake of the camera? One large fan base with millions of followers even posted a snippet of the interview with the caption, "You realize something when you've been pretending for too long that everything is fine." The post was liked over 3 million times within 24 hours. The successive reactions were unstoppable. "I feel lied to," wrote one fan. "I thought they really understood each other, but they didn't," added another. Comments full of hurt, disappointment, and loss began to flood the timeline. Then HYBE sent an official statement, but not an accepted answer. Rather, a new questioned INA statement. HYBE said, "The video was shot in conditions that do not reflect the true internal situation of the artists. We ask fans not to draw conclusions based on moments taken out of context." But from there was a lot of speculation. What does real internal situation mean? Do they acknowledge that there are indeed relationship dynamics that are different from those shown to the public? Even the Korean media began to glance at this phenomenon as more than just viral nostalgia. One of the senior journalists stated that changes in communication between members have been seen since the beginning of 2024, especially when both are undergoing individual projects that increasingly show their personal characters. Taehyung, who became more introverted, and Jungkook, who looked more expressive, but also more aloof after the stage was over. Has their solo project changed the dynamics of the relationship? Or just opened an old wound that has been tightly closed? What made things even more complicated was the appearance of another video, this time taken secretly by the backstage staff. In the video, Taehyung is seen walking away from the waiting room where Jungkook is. A staff member approached, but Taehyung just shook his head and said, "Let him alone first." The speech, although it sounds simple, is now the main subject of conversation. What does "leave him alone" mean? Was there a conflict then? Why is this video showing up now? Some fans began to pull the red thread. That during this time, there was an emotional conflict that was not revealed to the public. That there are moments where they choose to be silent, not because they don't care, but because they don't want to hurt each other. And now, as those little pieces begin to come together, the big picture emerges not a beautiful story, but a harsh reality. What makes it all the more painful is the feeling that maybe it's not just about two idols. It's about friendship, about hope, about how millions of people hang their feelings on the relationship of two human beings they admire. But what if the relationship has long changed? And what if we're all too afraid to admit it? Some speculations that are now sticking out even mention the intervention of management, that they are asked to keep their distance in order to build a stronger image of the individual ahead of conscription. Or more surprisingly, that there were personal tensions that were never resolved and instead left hanging for fear of their impact on Fandom. One source in the Korean entertainment industry, who did not want to be named, said that the interactions between the members are sometimes arranged to keep the narrative that the public likes. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. Is Taehyung just a narrative? Are there moments of intimacy just a stage illusion? However, on the other hand, some ARMY remained firm in their beliefs. They believe that true friendship does not always have to be shown explicitly, that space and time are part of maturity, that perhaps Taehyung and Jungkook are indeed keeping their distance, but not out of hatred, but out of respect for each other. The message from one fan read, "Sometimes we have to trust that the people we care about know what they are doing, even when we don't understand it." The sentence was widely disseminated as a form of support for both, but still, the shadow of Taehyung's viral sentence still hangs in the air. Sometimes giving space is the best way to stay afloat. Survive what? From who? For who? And when the question was not answered, one more surprise appeared. HYBE is reportedly considering releasing a full version of the interview, which has never aired. The full version is said to show the true context of Taehyung's sentence. But is this really to erase misconceptions, or rather to control the narrative? To this day, question after question continues to arise. Any old videos are played back. Every movement, gaze, tone of voice, everything is parsed and analyzed. All for one reason: truth. Not because you want to blame, but because the heart is too tired to hope for lies that are shrouded in a smile. And now, the question is no longer whether Taehyung stays away from Jungkook. The question is, why do we only realize it now? While the internet is still filled with speculation and analysis, a sense of unease continues to linger in the hearts of the ARMY. They continue to search through old records, examining the slightest interaction that might once have been considered trivial. Many return to the moments of concerts, variety shows, to live broadcasts when both are in the same room, but for some reason it seems like they are in different worlds. One of the moments that went viral again was during the last concert before the two underwent their respective solo activities. During the concert, the camera captured Taehyung standing on the side of the stage, staring at Jungkook, who is singing his solo part. His expression? Flat. Even cold. But when he realized the camera was pointing at him, Taehyung smiled. At a glance. Short. Then back down. This scene, once considered just an ordinary moment, is now interpreted as a symbol. An honest expression that appeared involuntarily. The question is Taehyung no longer able to pretend in front of the camera? Meanwhile, an anonymous account claiming to be a former HYBE staffer sparked a new furor with a statement that there was a tacit agreement between the PR team to reduce the intensity of the visual interaction between Taehyung and Jungkook. This statement, of course, cannot be verified, but the public is already in uproar. Have their interactions been curated? And if so, what is the real reason? In the midst of this chaos, Jungkook himself has not issued any statement. But an incident in Jungkook's latest live broadcast on the Weverse fansign platform again invited the spotlight. When a fan asked about Taehyung, Jungkook was silent for almost 8 seconds, much longer than usual. He only replied briefly, "She's fine," and then discuss another topic. Those 8 seconds of silence are now a new symbol. 8 seconds that felt like denial. Or a confession. Many soldiers cried after the broadcast. Not because of Jungkook's words, but because of his eyes. The look that used to be full of passion now seems empty. Does it keep the wound? Or is it just tired of the expectations of a public that keeps demanding an explanation for something that shouldn't be explained? On the other hand, Taehyung also D. And here we are now, sitting in the midst of an emotional storm that does not subside, trying to understand what is really going on behind the smiles of two figures who mean so much to millions of hearts. Taehyung and Jungkook, two names that have been considered to represent a rare and genuine closeness in the entertainment industry world full of falsehoods. But is what we've been seeing really real? Or just part of a long script written without their own permission? What makes this situation even more thorny is the fact that behind all the sadness and speculation, there is one thing that keeps sticking to the surface: the feeling that the two are struggling. Not to maintain friendships, perhaps, but to keep themselves intact amid the pressures of a world that never stops watching, did a senior fan who has followed BTS since their debut wrote on his personal blog, "I don't think Taehyung is moving away from Jungkook." But maybe he was trying to save himself from an injury he couldn't explain in words. The statement then spread quickly, was requoted by various fan bases, and even talked about in audio room discussions by the international ARMY community. There is another theory that is no less shocking. Some fans believe that Taehyung's line in the viral interview is not just about his relationship with Jungkook, but rather a reflection of the pressure he experiences as a public figure who continues to be paired up endlessly. Is it true that the shipper's overly fanatical pressure contributed to this emotional rift? An old video from fan meeting reinforces this speculation. In the video, a fan shouts, "Taehyung forever," while crying. Taehyung just smiled and waved, but when viewed from a different camera angle, he looked at Jungkook, then looked down quickly. There was something in his facial expression that could not be explained. Like compulsion. Like a fear that he tries to hide in the most polite way. If it is true that it is all pressure, the question is, why didn't anyone stop it from the beginning? Where was HYBE when it began to develop into inhuman demands? Those questions are now starting to be addressed directly to management. Some fans even organized a petition for HYBE to be more open in protecting the members' personal boundaries. One of the international petitions was signed by more than 500,000 fans within 72 hours. They demand explanations, not just brief clarifications that defend the agency's interests. And when fans began to feel that the company did not really care about the mental health of its artists, even greater indignation began to appear. The surprising thing then came from the statement of a pop culture journalist from France who claimed to have leaked that HYBE was in an internal crisis about the management of the artist's narrative due to the impact of this video. In his interview, he mentioned that some of the old staff who had worked with BTS had now started talking off the record about the pressure to produce a saleable image, including inter-member relations. Suddenly, it all got heavier. Have we as fans pushed them to this point? A young ARMY man wrote on his social media account, "I love Taehyung and Jungkook, but if our love hurts them, then is it love or obsession?" The sentence became the subject of reflection of many people. Thousands of comments replied with full sentences of regret. Some even deleted their shipper accounts and wrote open apology messages, but still, some others cannot accept. They are convinced that Taehyung is real. Whatever happens is just a phase. They reject the fact that perhaps the people they idolize need distance, not just from each other, but from all of us. Meanwhile, Taehyung begins to reduce his social media activity. It is no longer as active as before. The posts are now shorter, more personal, but also more closed. In one of his last posts, he wrote only one word: time. Fans immediately interpreted this as a signal that he was undergoing a deep inner healing process. Jungkook seemed calmer, but more mysterious. In practice sessions with other members, he seemed to be aloof, staring out of the studio window rather than interacting. One of the choreographers even mentioned in his personal upload that there is a very thick melancholic energy in the rehearsal room. And just when we thought this drama was already painful enough, comes one more surprise point. One of the senior entertainment reporters from Korea mentioned that there will be a BTS documentary video to be released this year, which will feature behind-the-scenes stories over the past 5 years. In the documentary, it is rumored that there will be footage of internal discussions that show the members' fragile moments, including rarely seen interactions between Taehyung and Jungkook. Some leaked snippets suggest there is a small debate in the recording studio where the two seem to disagree about the direction of the song. Will this documentary clarify everything? Or is it just deepening wounds that have not healed? In the midst of all this excitement, ARMY can only hope, not in the clarity of the narrative, but in the happiness of both of them. Because at the end of the day, far behind the scenes, off stage and off camera, they're just people. Human beings who love, grow, and sometimes